Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think it's pretty clear to most in and outside of this chamber how I feel about the crisis which is currently taking place in our education system. And what I don't want to hear from the government from benches is that school spending has never been higher. It's just not true. The Institute for Fiscal Studies have stated that school funding per pupil fell by 8% in real terms between 2010 and 2018, and for post-16 education it's a 20% fall. Pupil numbers in secondary education are rising, and the number of secondary school students is due to rise by 14.7% by 2027. Costs have been rising and are continuing to rise. Teachers' pensions, national insurance contributions and the apprenticeship levy, to name but a few of these costs. In my constituency of Colne Valley, only 2 schools have not experienced a shortfall in funding since 2015. 2 schools. Over 2/3 of schools in Colne Valley have seen a cut to funding of over £150 per pupil since 2015, and 7 of these schools have lost over £400. The Sutton Trust have found that over 2/3 of secondary school heads have said that financial pressures have forced them to cut staff. Schools are shortening the school week and literally turning the lights off. Teachers are paying for classroom resources out of their own money. Our school buildings have leaking roofs and buckets are placed around the building to collect the drips from the leaks. Just shameful. Then there's the curriculum, which is being squeezed. The Fabian Society has revealed a drastic decline in arts provision in our primary schools. The Sixth Form Colleges Association has uncovered that 50% of schools and colleges have dropped A-level courses in modern foreign languages. Research by Sussex University found that the number of schools offering a music A-level had fallen by more than 15% in the past 2 years. A narrow curriculum limits children's opportunities and their ability to adapt and engage in different types of learning. Support for pupils is also struggling to survive the budget cuts. Colne Valley head teachers have told me funding pressures have led to cuts in learning resources, staffing and special educational needs and disabilities provision. As the Education Committee has found when taking evidence during the inquiry into SEND, schools and local authorities are struggling to provide the necessary support, causing stress for pupils and their families, and demand is growing. And here's the thing. This debate is about school and college funding, but problems we are seeing in the system aren't just about the lack of sufficient funding in schools. It's about schools picking up the cost of a near decade of cuts to public health, cuts to youth services, cuts to community outreach, early intervention services, cuts to housing benefit and the rollout of universal credit. Between 2010 and 2020, local authorities will have seen reductions of £16 billion to core government funding. Inevitably, this caused a reduction of provision in areas such as social care, support for families and from agencies such as the police force. Schools are having to divert the scarce resources they have to cover for services that no longer have the capacity to provide the support so desperately needed by young people and their families. Schools are the hub of our communities. They are at the front line every day. I know, I've been there. Supporting our youngest and most vulnerable. What we need is well-trained, motivated and passionate teachers who believe in the common purpose of preparing children and young people for life and a love of lifelong learning. The gravity of the situation is only too clear to many of us here. For the first time, thousands of head teachers marched on Westminster. Hundreds of maintained nursery staff marched on Westminster. Teaching unions are united and marching on Westminster. Parents and teachers and governors are united and marching on Westminster. Listen to the professionals. Listen to the parents. Take action now. Everyone, in some way, is related to a teacher or has children in school, and these people can see the system as it is at the moment, and they will be using their vote in the next election, whenever it may be. It will be education and our country's respect and value for it which will help return the Labour Party to government.
Please, keep adding up.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.